This is 4th and Goal on Break the Cast.
Break the Cast. I'm Jeff Blagden. I've got Christian. I've got Proto. This is 4th and Goal, and unlike Terrell Owens, we've made it to the final episode.
Yeah, that's some
season.
garbage he should have got in, but we'll get to that later on.
It's really true. He should have gotten in. If you look at his numbers, he's no worse than the third best wide receiver of all time.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually where I'd have him.
Yeah, I would put him behind Randy Moss.
Yeah.
But that's because I value touchdowns higher than I value yards.
So do you think attitude was a big factor in that?
That's exactly what, when he told me, that's the first thing I brought up.
Yeah, was
maybe
his attitude. Personality. Yeah.
But he brought up a good point that they just hate putting receivers in first ballot.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
But there's another thing, too, that you point out based on his attitude, too. Did you hear what he said afterwards about it? He said Chris Carter, who is a Hall of Fame receiver, begged his way into the Hall of Fame, and that he just didn't do enough begging to get in.
So now he's not
Typical
helping his case even more. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, why do you say you want to get into the Hall of Fame? Why do you go and rip on them a day after?
He'll get in, though, regardless.
He's got to get in
Numbers
eventually.
don't lie, man.
He has to.
Oh, yeah. He's got to get in eventually. I mean, here's the most crazy Terrell Owens stat I could find. There's one player in NFL history who has scored a touchdown against all 32 current teams, and that is Terrell Owens. And Terrell Owens has scored at least 2 against all 32 NFL teams.
Wow. That's pretty nuts.
Yeah, that's crazy. He was my favorite. Obviously, I'm a Cowboys fan. I loved him even on the Eagles. 49ers, obviously. I liked him his whole career, basically, except for, I guess, the tail end when he was on Buffalo.
And Cincy.
With Ocho Cinco.
Those two teams were basically like he was just trying to hang on to his career at that point.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Tried to make something of it. I remember being excited when he signed for Buffalo because it was like maybe he could play pretty good, and he wasn't as good as we would hope. But, it was pretty cool to see him in a Bills uniform too, so.
Terrell Owens' end of his career is a really odd case because a lot of times you bring up when players get old that their bodies deteriorate and that. Terrell Owens was still in fantastic shape.
Oh, yeah.
He just
absolutely
wasn't as good.
I don't think his mind was necessarily where it was at the beginning, obviously, which is normal.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of lost a step skill-wise.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, speaking of losing a step skill-wise, Peyton Manning is the winner of Super Bowl 50.
Yeah.
All right, let me just read his final stats of the game.
Oh, yeah.
13 for 23, 141 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 1 interception.
And
that is your Super Bowl
Super Bowl.
champion. But that defense, though, Von Miller,
both
DeMarcus
defenses.
Ware, Jesus. They
Yeah,
they had 4.5 sacks between the two of them. I think that was the most since like 82 or something I read.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
It was something ridiculous.
Something ridiculous like that.
It's funny,
But
because
Eli had a ton too. The guy on the other side.
Yeah, he had 3.5.
Yeah.
and
an
4
interception.
tackles and an interception, but no one knows because Carolina lost.
wasn't it not like the most sacks in one Super Bowl this game, combined?
I mean, I could look that up.
I believe it was.
Generally,
I wanna
before
say
you
so.
mention something on a podcast, you look it up to make sure it's a fact.
Yeah, but I just thought of it now because talking about it. But anyway, but after the game, it was funny. I'm watching the celebration, and in my head, I go, Denver's offense didn't play well, but the defense did. And then I'm like, my God, we've been saying that every single episode of the podcast, and it even came all the way to the Super Bowl and happened again.
Both of these teams,
Well, that's
though,
why
the
we've been
defenses
such a strong
dominated
show
it.
there,
Yeah,
champ.
no, I know, but then I was going to say, but that solidifies that's how good that defense is, that they don't even, need an offense.
Basically, the statement Proto just made can be summed down to, we're really good at pointing out the obvious.
We're good at
guys.
this, yeah.
For real.
We're good at what we do.
We've said that basically every week.
That's what I just said.
Yeah. Well,
But I'm saying, to me, it really showed, though, I don't know, how do I word this well without you guys ribbing on me?
How do you word anything
How
well?
do you word words? No, basically, it just showed how good really this defense was. A lot of people talked about Carolina's defense throughout the year. But
hey, they
Denver,
played great, though.
No,
a lot of people
absolutely,
talked about
absolutely.
Denver's defense, though, too, if that's where you're going with this.
But I think when a lot of people, when you would talk defense, I think Carolina's maybe came up a little more than Denver.
I think you're high.
No,
Denver had the
I don't.
number 1 defense in the NFL,
Yeah,
and it was talked about every single time anyone talked about Denver.
Thanks. I was getting to that, but then I said, but name-wise, you talked about maybe Von Miller, maybe Ware in the playoffs. Obviously, before the playoffs, he was playing well, but the focus was on Carolina's defense a lot at the time.
Because they were 15-1.
That's my That's my point.
I don't understand the point you're trying to make. We talked about them equally for a team that was equally in the media. We talked about Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr. Like, we talked about all of them. TJ Ward. It's not like they don't have names that we talk about.
Yeah, that defense has serious...
No, absolutely. They have big names, obviously.
And everyone talks about them.
But that defense going forward, who do you think they keep?
They have to keep Von Miller.
Well, obviously, I think they keep Von Miller. But between Marshall and Trevathan, who do you keep? Because all three of them are free agents.
Marshall. You got to keep Marshall.
Yeah, I'd say Marshall and obviously Von Miller.
Marshall, Miller, and Ware are your core linebackers.
Yeah. And then if you still have Harris Jr. and Talib at the back end, you're fantastic.
And Ward.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. That defense, if they keep Miller, keep Marshall, I honestly see Peyton coming back because he doesn't have to do anything, and he could potentially steal another ring.
It's funny you mentioned Miller and Peyton because Von Miller has said multiple times now to the press that he does not think Peyton Manning is going to retire.
Yeah, I don't think so at all.
And there's lots of players from that team that are saying they don't think he retires either. Now, Peyton has always been a little unpredictable throughout his career, so, I mean, it's possible that he could surprise everybody, but, I mean, I think he really wants to come back and get that regular season wins record.
So do I. And like I said, he doesn't have to do much. I mean, he could play a couple games, maybe have Osweiler if they end up keeping him, and then come back playoff time and ride that D.
They're actually saying the Rams, if they don't get Peyton Manning, they were actually looking at Brock Osweiler as well.
So were the Browns, I saw, looking at Osweiler. But me and him talked about this yesterday. I can't see the Broncos really letting Osweiler go.
If they're smart, no, he's not going.
Did the Broncos start 6-0 or 7-0?
6-0.
6-0. Now they started 6-0. With your saying Peyton doesn't have to do much, they started 6-0. Through the first 8 games of the season, Peyton Manning had 17 interceptions.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
So
he can actually do negative things for you, and they still win
somehow,
undefeated at the beginning of the season.
Unbelievable.
That's what I mean. That defense, it's one of. I hate to say that it's one of the best all time, but
the way
it is one of the best all time.
One of the best all time.
Well, they said somebody, I think it was on the broadcast, was saying like they hadn't seen a defense like this since like the '80s Cowboys, almost kind of thing.
Statistically, this Broncos team was better on defense and worse on offense than the 2000 Baltimore Ravens that won the Super Bowl.
Wow,
That's pretty nice.
Trent Dilfer as QB.
Was it Dilfer or was it Brad Johnson? No, it was Dilfer. Yeah. Johnson was the Bucks, which is the same. The same
guy,
thing.
basically.
Yeah.
Wow, Trent Dilfer as a Super Bowl. Just remember that.
Super Bowl.
Hey, Trent Dilfer didn't throw 17 interceptions that year.
That's very true.
I know, it's funny. We're sitting here like, wow, Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl this year, and we're like, yeah, so Dilfer.
But even the first year he won it, he had a pretty bad playoffs, even that run.
But he had a decent defense.
Yeah.
Like, they weren't anything over the top like Denver.
He has been bad in every Super Bowl he's played in.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, he's got, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions?
I believe
in Super
so.
Bowls?
Yeah, and he's 2 what's his record?
He's 2-3. Or 2-2, sorry, yeah. 2-2.
Yeah.
So 1-1 with each team now.
Yeah. But he became the first quarterback to be a starter for 2 different teams and win the Super Bowl, I believe.
No.
Yeah.
Win, yes.
Yeah, that's what I
but
said.
Warner started for 2.
Win a Super Bowl with 2 different teams.
Yeah, win the Super Bowl.
Because Warner was on
teams
Arizona and St. Louis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
but yeah, no, I mean, where do you put Peyton now? Does this jump him up a spot, or does it
he's number
leave
3.
him?
He's number 3 all time.
Keeps him top 5 exactly, probably number 3.
I mean, unless he wins 2 more Super Bowls, I'm not bumping him up to 2.
Unless,
what if he got another one next year?
I still can't put him because the guys I have ahead of him are Montana and Brady.
Depends his stats. If he has like
he has everything. He has every record essentially.
Of course. Yeah.
Brady has 4 Super Bowls, 1 MVP. Manning has 4 MVPs, 2 Super Bowls.
Doesn't Brady have 2 MVPs?
Brady has 2 MVPs. Yeah.
Okay.
08 and 10, or sorry, 07 and 10.
Yeah.
But I can't put him ahead of a guy who holds every single playoff passing record.
Yeah, fair.
Like Brady. Plus, Brady's career winning percentage in the NFL is 77%. That is ridiculous.
That's real. Like
ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what at the end of the day.
And I was gonna say he's been in a crummy division, but Manning was in a crummy division too. I mean, Jacksonville's never been good.
Nope.
Houston was meh. And
Houston was never good until he was gone.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just, at the end of the day, the goal is to win games, and Brady does that better than any quarterback in the history of the league.
Yeah.
And Montana, you can't solely look at the regular season stats with Montana. It was a different era. It was a completely different team. It was, there was so many different things about that. You got to put Montana still top 2. I mean, he's also 4-0 in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Right?
And had a ridiculous run of 11 TDs in a playoff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. Yeah, I'm with you. Manning, regular season, he's the best, and playoffs, he's top 5.
Who do you put at 4?
Mm.
Assuming
Forever?
we're going Brady and Montana in whatever order you have them at 1 and 2, and
Okay.
Peyton at 3, who do you put at 4?
Maybe Bradshaw.
I don't know if I can
4
because
rings.
of the regular season thing, though. He's just
Yeah,
not
fair.
impressive.
For me, I don't know. He's always been one of my favorites, and it's a guy we mention.
if
you're
you
going,
say Jim Kelly,
No, absolutely not.
Doug
No, it's a
Flutie.
guy we always talk about is Drew Brees. I think he's got to be
only
up
one.
there.
Nah, I know it's not his fault that his defense has been
No, of
trash
course,
his
but I
whole
mean, if you
career.
look
But I mean, he has
statistically wise-
one.
yeah, but the best quarterbacks
one
fight through that.
Super Bowl
That's
win.
true, yeah.
He has one Super
Yeah,
Bowl
so
win.
I don't know. I've always
He
been a
doesn't
big Drew
carry
Brees
his
fan.
team to
Yeah.
make the playoffs. Like, when's the last time they really made a nice playoff run? Last time I can think they were in the playoffs is when they
When they
lost
won
to
the
Seattle at 7-9.
Yeah.
That first round when
For me, it's like when
Marshawn
they
had the
won
beast
Super Bowl,
mode run,
Yeah. For
I-
me, last time I think about them is the Super Bowl.
and that was in what?
Exactly. It's been so long.
07,
And
08?
It seems weird because to me, I remember that game so well, and then now it's like that's the only thing I really remember with the Saints.
In Proto's defense, now I don't agree with him. I don't put Breeze at 4, but in Proto's defense, if you are to take a list of statistics for the top quarterbacks of all time and just spread out their seasonal statistics in front of you, blank out their names, blank out the playoffs, you'd think Breeze is the best quarterback of all time.
Fair.
And that's
With
what I
those
meant by
numbers,
if you're
right?
going by stat wise, and that's the
I'd
next
put him-
point I was going to make. Like if you just show somebody the stats, I think Drew Brees almost 9 out of 10.
I'd
The
put him
thing
up
with
up
him, with his stats, though, I feel him being on such a team with a bad defense helped that because he throws so much because he's
Yeah, of
got
course,
it because
yeah.
he's down half the
But
time.
the thing is, he does it.
Not only that,
it's not
but-
like he just throws a lot and just gives the ball away.
Not only that, but instead of a running game, New Orleans throws screen passes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right? They don't really run the ball, which gives him a huge advantage there, right? But I got to say, you put him with Favre and Marino as the best regular season quarterbacks
Yeah.
in NFL history.
So then, who would you guys have for 4? You said Bradshaw.
Or just be biased and put Aikman there.
I was going to say.
God, if we're talking about regular season stats, put a guy who's never thrown 20 touchdowns in a season.
Hey, Super Bowls, baby.
Jeff, who do you have
But no,
for 4?
like I feel it's too early for me to, because like when it's all said and done, I could have Rodgers up there.
and
Hell,
that's what I
if
mean.
Big
That's
Ben gets
something
another
like-
one, I could make an argument to throw him top 5.
Yeah, no, and for me, like, it's something, you guys are older than me, not by much.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, for me, I don't have that much knowledge, I would say, for kind of like, I didn't start watching football till I was a bit older because I didn't really understand, like, the statistics. Like, I understood the game, but then I was, like, player-wise, I didn't really know kind of who was good, who was bad. That's why I support the Bills. But no, like when you look at things like that, for me, it's kind of harder. Like I think of modern guys who I've watched a lot. That's why I kind of brought up the name of Drew Brees kind of thing. I know obviously you didn't watch Bradshaw like your whole life.
No,
kind of
obviously
thing.
not.
Of
I just
course.
know he's
Yeah,
got
exactly.
4 Super Bowls with one team.
Of
That's a
course.
huge
No,
thing.
that is absolutely huge.
It's not like Kelly where he lost 4 with one team.
So let's say Jim Kelly wins 2 or 3 of them. Would you?
Oh, for
put him
sure.
up
It's
there?
a way different
Absolutely,
story.
yeah. Jeff, who do you have for number 4?
My 4th best is probably a guy that neither of you would have even thought of is Johnny Unitas. Because
Okay.
up until like the late 70s, early 80s, he was the best quarterback in NFL history, right? And the numbers he put up for the era he played in are absolutely ridiculous. This is a guy
No, that's a
who
good
played from 1956 to 1973. He led the league in passing attempts 6 times. He led the league in yards 5 times. He became the first quarterback to throw for over 3,000 yards, and he threw for 3,000 yards 4 times before anyone else did it once.
It's ridiculous.
And he led the league in touchdowns for 5 straight years, from 57 to 60.
Jesus.
I mean, this is a guy who, in that era that he played in, also retired with a quarterback rating of 78.2 in that era.
Ridiculous.
So, I mean, 40,239 yards. Where's his touchdowns here? 290 touchdowns, 253 interceptions.
Do you guys have a number 5 that you could think off the top of your head? Like
Well, it depends where I'm ranking my 4. I listed a couple guys I could throw there.
So, but nobody, like, again, statistic-wise, record-wise, nobody said Brett Favre.
His lackluster
Again,
playoff
it's one
performances
Super Bowl.
I know.
And
that's what
my
argument
last
was gonna
image
be.
of Brett Favre is him screwing up on Minnesota
with
when
Minnie?
he could have had his chance getting a second Super Bowl. Or
No, me
getting there
too.
at least.
My last 2 things I think of Brett Favre is that and doing Gene commercials.
Yeah.
That's really it.
And penis pictures,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
which is pretty sad to say.
Yeah.
But I like that-
He kind of tainted, like...
Oh, yeah, he tainted his career, and he played too long. I mean,
absolutely.
retired
He just
7
kept-
times,
that's
came
why I
back.
want
He's the Jay-Z of football.
Yeah. That's why I want Peyton to retire now, so we could, when people look back at this, they might not say, hey, he had a bad Super Bowl. They'll say, hey, he retired a champion.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, for me, I want Peyton to go now.
For number 5 for me, I could narrow it down to 3 guys, but I think they're all really about equal for me, and that's Bart Starr, Otto Graham, and Sammy Baugh.
I'd probably have Warren
Bart
Moon.
Starr's a good one.
Sammy Baugh was the first guy to
Moon,
do
yeah.
it, like to actually.
If we're talking football, as opposed to just at straight
Yeah.
NFL.
Oh, yeah, when you talk... Yeah.
Yeah. Sammy Baugh was the first guy to actually be a real throwing quarterback that would throw deep a lot, right? So without him, the NFL might still be about running,
Yeah.
right? Otto Graham won 9 straight championships. So
Yeah.
that was obviously pre-Super Bowl era, but still, 9 straight championships, that's a pretty big deal. And Bart Starr, obviously, first 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So
MVP'd in both of them, was it? Or
no, what's his face was in one of them. Number 5 starts with an H. Horning.
yeah,
Paul Horning.
he was Super Bowl 1 or 2. I can't remember. I think
can't
2.
remember. I think he was 1.
They showed it obviously at the Super Bowl, but he was the only one who wasn't there. Like they had him live via satellite.
Bart Starr's also sick right now. Like it's the reason he wasn't at the Brett Favre jersey retirement that he promised he would be at.
Yeah, no, of course. But speaking of which, with the Super Bowl, obviously on the other side of the ball we had Cam Newton, who was not the Cam Newton we saw all year. Absolutely. Obviously, you give a lot of credit to the Denver defense, but
He was under a lot
lot
of
of
pressure.
and they said that was in his career from college to
That's the most
big
pressure I've
leagues.
seen him under.
yeah. They
hands
said
down.
statistically that
Same
was
with Brady,
the most
the round
pressure he
before.
ever
That's the
been.
most pressure I've seen.
And that's how you beat those kind of
Oh, yeah.
quarterbacks is you make them uncomfortable and you make them shake, and that's what Denver does so well.
I'm going to touch on Cam a bit because there's a couple things I need to say.
Yeah, no, me too. I want to kind of touch on that as well.
The one thing I want to say about Cam in this game, and let me preface it by saying that, obviously he has gotten better with it this year, but throughout the year, I've been saying, where everyone's been saying he's become a better leader, he's become mature and all that. And I understand he just lost the biggest game of his career. But afterwards, he was probably the most immaturely
See, I'm not
handled.
mad at leaving the
I'm
press
gonna-
conference. I'm
I'm
not
not-
mad at leaving the press conference.
I'm not necessarily not only that though, everything afterwards.
The thing that I hate about the media, and this is one thing that they obviously didn't show, right after the game, Cam went right up to Peyton with smile ear to ear, congratulated him, shook his hand, hugged him, said a couple words, and walked off the field. But of course, no one mentions that at all. They only mention him walking out on the reporters, who probably were asking pretty stupid questions. The guy was just in the biggest game of his life,
Now,
crapped the bed, and has... I don't know, man. I don't
Now,
care about
I'm not necessarily
that.
mad at him for it. I'm just saying that everyone has been talking about his maturity level all year, and
The thing I'm
this
mad-
really shows that he hasn't really gotten that
The
much.
thing
better.
that I'm mad at that he did was not jump on that fumble in the fourth quarter. They were down 6 points. If you
I
jump on
agree
that fumble,
completely.
you're in the game completely. You still have a chance to win. That gave up another 7 points, which put them down 14 because they went for 2, and that was the game.
dagger.
That was the end.
The dagger right there.
And he said after he was worried about injury, but I'd never seen Cam worried about injury ever in his career, let alone being in the Super Bowl. A guy saying he's worried about injury who flies over the line, jumping 20 feet in the air when he doesn't even need to half the time, and gets decked in the end zone, and you're scared to jump on a fumble?
Yeah,
that makes no sense to me. That's where I was mad.
Now, here's the argument I make with Cam Newton, how people are saying about questioning the leadership and what he did after the game. When Peyton Manning lost the Super Bowl with Indy,
he walked right off the field.
Walked off the field, did not talk to reporters, but we don't talk about that.
I know.
Now, I'm not...
No. I know you're not, ribbing at Cam Newton for that, but my example is Peyton Manning, after that game, a couple of years later, said, that was a mistake. I realize it. Yeah. And he said, but that's what made me a better leader.
I don't want to make it a race thing, but it's how media portrays certain people, for sure. I don't care what anybody says.
But what did I say before the Super Bowl as well? Why do you think people, because he's a young African-American having fun?
No, 100%.
Yeah. And now he's a young African-American who's not even being a smartass, but they're portraying him as that by the media. And that's what I was going to say. So Peyton Manning, after that Super Bowl, a couple years later, he said, I learned from that because what I did didn't look bad on me. It looked bad on my team. And that's when Peyton Manning says, that's when I learned to become a leader. Bill Belichick does it when New England loses almost all the time, but he's graced as one of, coaching-wise.
Yeah, well, he's known as one of the best coaches of all time, but nobody is considering him a good person.
No, absolutely. That's what I mean. But they don't talk about that. When they lose... The guy doesn't talk.
No, I know.
Yeah, but
he doesn't when they win either. To be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, that's true.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. When you're looking for answers, he's the last guy.
A little diva-ish when they lose certain games like that. No, they're just picking and choosing and focusing it so much on him, and I feel they're focusing it so much on him. Partly is because of all the celebrating throughout the year. And
listen, he's a 26.
He's 26, making $1 million, playing something he loves to do.
And he made it to the big game of his career, with an offense that we've always mentioned that wasn't anything.
He had a kick returner as his number one receiver.
Yeah,
and a tight end who, for some reason, they did not look at all in that Super Bowl game, which is another thing I don't understand.
They had Ward and Harris swapping off on him all game, so I think that had a lot to do with it. Not to mention, most tight end routes that are designed for tight end are option routes, which take a little bit of time to develop. And if there's one thing Cam Newton did not have in that game, it's time.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
And another thing to touch on, too, is a couple missed calls here and there. The field goal that Buddy McManus shanked, that was a offside by about 5 yards on Talib, but they didn't call that and missed that. That one catch in the first quarter, I believe, that he wasted a challenge on, that was a catch. I don't care what anyone says. His hand was under the ball, didn't touch the ground at all. I don't know how that wasn't a catch.
Yeah, no, I thought that was a catch as well.
And so, there's a couple plays here and there, where's the momentum shift if that field goal when it got shanked, but they get the offside in the first down, or if that was a catch, they end up maybe scoring there. There's a couple things that happen throughout the game,
and I think that happens with every big game.
For sure.
Where you say, "What if this happened? What if?" And obviously, it's a shame that
those were clear-cut missed calls.
Yeah, exactly. That missed calls were a big talking point with that, obviously. But I still give kudos to Carolina. 15-1 is not an easy thing at all to do. They're going to be back. They're going to have Benjamin coming back next year, which I bet Cam Newton lays at home and he says,
and I think they go sign a whole defense this offseason.
Yeah. No, I
think they do what Denver did last year, or after losing to Seattle, go sign those key defensive players and come back stronger.
Yep.
Because they're not going to really need to sign anyone on offense with Benjamin coming back. That's basically like a free agent pickup,
you got
right?
Benjamin coming back, and you still got Jonathan Stewart,
and
you're fine.
Olsen.
Yeah, you're fine.
Obviously, Super Bowl, it happened this week. We can talk about it for the whole
6
show
hours,
if we wanted to. But, I mean, even considering how boring it was as a Super Bowl, it's still the Super Bowl. Congratulations to Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
He did go out a champion. I mean, no matter how we feel about the game, whether we think it was a good game, whether we think they won or not, we're not changing it. Peyton Manning won.
Oh, yeah.
He's a champion once again. Silenced some of the critics, although he still
didn't do anything.
Didn't
in the
really
game.
do it. But at the end of the year, at the end of the day, when we look back at it in 5 years from now, we look back and see that he's 2-2 in Super Bowls.
Yep. Exactly.
You can argue that there was times of Tom Brady's Super Bowls that he didn't exactly be the be-all, end-all in that team either. So,
yeah, and actually, that's a good argument. I forgot to bring up was when we were talking about Peyton Manning. The first two, a lot of people said with Tom Brady, the first two that he won was defense oriented.
Now, to be fair, he's never had a Super Bowl as bad as Manning's
No, absolutely
was.
not. I'm not
But-
even close to saying
Brady
that.
also had what? Brucey, Seau, who was on that? I remember that. That was a solid defense.
most of his teams
Ty
were-
Law.
Yeah, Ty Law. Yeah.
most of his Super Bowl teams, with the exception of the 2017 that lost, were really defensive based. I mean, Belichick is a defensive coach at the end of the day, right?
Which is funny to say when you got the best quarterback almost ever, and then you had Randy Moss, you had Gronkowski. Now it's pretty funny to kind of look at it that way.
But it's not like they don't put up numbers.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, he's always had he's like Belichick is a great personnel guy. He's like Parcells in that he can find so many good personnel that help with that system.
Well, yeah, it's
Whether
next man
that's-
up there, and
whether
they
that's
do as
not-
good as the last person.
Absolutely.
Not only in the players, but with the coaches too, right? He's always had a good offensive coordinator there, right? That's the thing. Belichick calls the plays defensively, but he's always had great coordinators to help out with that offense. So, at the end of the day, it's the balance that helps it out. Now, nobody's arguing the fact that Peyton Manning is going to be a Hall of Famer. Took home the Super Bowl the day after the Hall of Fame ceremony, which obviously we saw. Some people we knew were going to get in.
Yeah.
Brett Favre,
Yeah, I was
obviously.
gonna say Brett Favre
The
was
biggest
no
one.
question.
Kurt Warner not getting in was a decent storyline there too, as well as T.O.
He's gonna be it. Like there are two guys that are.
Oh yeah,
both gonna be it.
they'll get in.
Now, I wanted to ask this. The Super Bowl party I was at, there was an argument going on about the Hall of Fame where nobody was arguing about T.O. being in. But what's the rule? How many years is it that you have to be retired?
5 years.
5? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what most people were saying. One guy was saying he thought it was longer. So, do you think it should be longer?
No.
Or do you think 5 years is good? 5 is
years
good?
is fine.
I wouldn't mind even if it was 3.
Yeah.
The problem is
And
there's
who
so many
retires
players.
for 3 years and then comes back?
I was going to say, a guy like Peyton Manning, like, you almost feel like it's the second he announces retirement.
should just
they
get
should just be
in.
like, yeah, boom, Hall of
Yeah.
Fame. Tom Brady, day he
No,
announces
yeah,
retirement, you're in the Hall of Fame. Like,
I don't disagree with that.
yeah.
But I guess it allows other people who are in that cycle.
Yeah, to
get
get their
in.
kind of get their moment.
Because like in baseball, if that was the case, guys would just not be getting in.
True.
Well, I love baseball's Hall of Fame system to begin with. You have to hit a certain percentage,
Yeah.
regardless of the year and the inductees. They'll have years where no one's inducted.
No, I know.
Which
it's
is
crazy.
I like that
Because one person got in this year,
if
wasn't
you
it?
look at
Or 2.
there was like 3 or something,
Yeah.
but like one of
Yeah,
them
it
was
was
like
very
contributor or something. But if you look at like the system is basically the same for every league other than the MLB. You look at like the NBA, we've got guys like Alonzo Mourning getting in and that who are they're good, but they're not Hall of Fame level. But they're getting in because they have to have 5 players inducted every year, right?
That's kind of like the NHL, but the NHL is kind of a weird one too, where it's like they won't put obvious guys in. Like there's so many guys who are not the Hall of Fame who deserve it, and it's almost like they make them wait as a tease until like maybe there's a weak class. Like Eric Lindros has one of the best points per game average. No, but he has one of the best points per game average because injuries.
They didn't win a cup though.
Yeah, it's
It's not
okay.
like he missed
is a Hall
the
of Fame.
cup run.
Eric Lindros is a Hall of Fame.
I'd have him very late.
He's been waiting a long time. That's my point. Is like that
Because what he
should
has
be waiting.
1 gold medal or 2.
I want to say
He won with the juniors for sure,
yeah. So if you're gonna go juniors, I would say probably 2.
and that's all he's won.
Now the one I don't agree with for this year for getting in to the Hall of Fame is Tony Dungy. I feel like if
I had
you're
a
gonna
feeling
make
you were gonna say
if you're
that.
gonna make a guy wait, I mean,
Yeah, no, for
his
sure.
resume isn't that impressive. I mean, yeah, he won a Super Bowl. He should have won 2 if he wasn't fired the year before the Bucks won the Super Bowl, right? But at the end of the day, if you look at the years between his Super Bowl ones, he's very Tom Coughlin-esque, where he's not incredibly impressive unless he has a solid team, right? Like he didn't do things like like Ron Rivera did this year.
Yeah.
Where he
He had
was-
Peyton Manning.
Exactly.
Now, do you think some
With
of that,
Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, those teams were.
Do you think some of that comes kind of as an NFL
Because he's a
gimmick?
broadcaster too.
That and a kind of an NFL gimmick where his old quarterbacks in the final, it could be his final game kind of thing.
I think I'm leaning more with because he's a broadcaster. Because now
broadcaster,
when they
and still
introduce
that
him,
he's
they
well-known.
former coach and Hall of Famer Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
That's how they're going to
But if you
introduce
could
him
argue
now.
that way, why didn't Kurt Warner get in?
Fair. I think Kurt Warner should have got in over Dungy
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I think a few guys. I think Terrell Davis should be in there too.
Even Owens.
Like Owens
Yeah,
too, yeah.
obviously.
But Owens is a first ballot, so I can give a little bit on that because it's first ballot, right?
Owens is a guy that we obviously know, and
He's gonna
Kurt
be
Warner.
in.
Oh yeah, he'll be in.
It's just a matter of when. It should be next year. It should be as soon as possible for the two of them, Kurt Warner and Terrell.
I think Warren will be in next year for sure.
Yeah. If Terrell keeps this crappy attitude up, then questionable.
Yeah, but they can't
No, of course.
change his numbers that
No,
happened.
absolutely.
But they can just not put him in.
Exactly.
It is voter based, right? But
Yeah, that's what I mean.
at the end of it's like when you're running for like presidency, right? You can be the most qualified candidate, but suck at convincing people to vote for you, and you're not going to get it.
Yeah.
Right. That's a lot like what the Hall of Fame is. He has the numbers, yes. He has the platform, but he has to now go out and make the voters like him and vote for him. Right. That's the reason Dungy's in there.
Just
he's
go
an
hug a
incredibly
puppy.
nice human being.
Go hug a puppy.
Right.
Yeah.
I think T.O.'s gonna like low-key just come back.
He's going to be like, they're not going to put me in. I'm going to make
He's
them
in
put
better
me
shape than some people on teams right now.
Yeah, Eddie Lacy.
But do you risk it if you're an NFL team
Oh,
with that
hell
attitude?
no.
No. That was like when, who was it? Was it not Ocho Cinco went to the CFL, and he's like, I'm going to be here so I could prove I could come back to the NFL, and he couldn't even do anything in the CFL.
Yeah, he was on the Alouettes.
Yeah,
I think he played
like
2 games.
Yeah, and they were
had
just
1
like,
touchdown
they
or something.
basically kicked him out. They were just like, no,
Yeah.
you're pretty garbage.
Yeah, such a joke.
So
But I mean, who do you guys think, aside from the first balloters and Kurt Warner, that should have got in that didn't? Is there anyone that needs to be in there?
Owens for sure. Warner, of course. Terrell Davis, you said.
Yeah, Terrell Davis has been waiting for 9 years or something like that, I think now. And like, yeah, he had a short career, but he had a 4-year span where he was unarguably the best
Yeah.
running back in the NFL. If he didn't get hurt, he would have continued that. He's a Super Bowl MVP. He's a league MVP.
And he
He's
was on
got 2 Super Bowl
both
titles.
Super Bowl teams, yeah.
Now-
and John Elway couldn't win a Super Bowl to save his life until Terrell Davis showed up. He was 0-3 in Super Bowls, and then Terrell Davis was there, and all of a sudden he's 2-3.
now, I wanted to raise a question with this is current playing, obviously we have Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, guys who are going to, no question, be in the Hall of Fame. Is there any recently retired or guys playing right now you see Hall of Fame one day? And who is it?
Adrian Peterson, Larry Fitzgerald, Peyton
Yep.
Manning, Tom Brady, Drew Brees,
Now, I'm not saying this guy for Hall of Fame.
Aaron
not at all.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this guy for Hall of Fame, but kind of speaking of that
Jonathan Cooper.
gross. Speaking of early retirement kind of thing.
I wouldn't put him in if this is where
you're
you're
going-
going.
No, if you're going with
not-
Lynch-
You're going
no,
to Calvin
I'm not-
Johnson?
no.
I
he's
wouldn't put him
probably
in.
going to go with Lynch, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was going to say not to put him in the Hall of Fame, but what's your guys' opinion with the Marshawn Lynch situation retiring? You guys cool with it?
I'm the one that called it like 4
No,
or 5
I know
weeks
you
ago.
did. I know you did.
I
But
knew he was
now-
going to retire.
I thought he was going to retire at the beginning, like
Because they would
before
ask
this
him for a
season.
pay cut. He's obviously not going to take it. And I told you he's not going to play anywhere unless it's Seattle.
I'm upset, in all honesty.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I
To see
like
Calvin
him.
Johnson
Good
and
character.
Marshawn Lynch both go.
Yeah. Who would you, if you had to pick between the two of them, who you put in?
Like, for the Hall of Fame.
Oh, Calvin, no
Calvin.
question.
Probably
Calvin's
Calvin.
career stats are actually impressive. Marshawn Lynch's are like, 4.1.
Kind of got
career
better
per
as he
carry
went on, and then
average.
he was also on a
Yeah,
good team. Mind you, he started with Buffalo when they were pretty
Eddie
garbage.
Lacy is a
I'd
Hall.
put neither of them in.
I wouldn't put
yeah,
either
no,
in
if you're
either,
telling me to
but-
pick one, I'm taking Calvin Johnson.
But Eddie Lacy is a Hall of very good candidate. He's not a Hall of Fame guy. Calvin
You
Johnson.
mean Lynch?
Sorry, Lynch.
What?
Yeah.
I heard
I
Eddie
was like,
Lacy,
Eddie
and I
Lacy,
was
I was
ready
like,
to throw
what's
my
going
chair.
on?
I was
I
like,
said Eddie
stop.
Lacy for some reason. But no, yeah, Lynch is he's a Hall of very good guy. He's not a Hall of Fame guy. And Calvin Johnson, I could make more of an argument for, because if it wasn't for the injuries and he kept on the pace he was on, I mean, he still has over 11,000 receiving yards for his career, 86 or something touchdowns, right? So he still has impressive numbers, and numbers that are better than a lot of people who are in the Hall of Fame, right? But if you look at the era he played in that, I can't put him in the Hall of Fame, especially playing for the Lions.
I wouldn't put either of them in, but I honestly think Lynch is going to get in.
Think because of his gimmick, kind
I
of
think
thing?
he is, because the NFL loves him.
Yeah.
Like the NFL media loves him. Like not.
I can't wait for that Hall of Fame speech.
Yeah.
I'm just here so I won't get
Yeah.
fined.
I'm
just walks
thankful.
off the stage.
Just doesn't show up.
That would be amazing.
So how many Super Bowls did Lynch finish with? Was it just the
One.
One.
Yeah.
One Super Bowl.
Well, it should have been 2, and he should have had a Super Bowl MVP, but
Yep.
that's for another day.
That's-
One Super Bowl,
that's
one
a
loss,
beaten down story.
and years with the Bills.
Yeah. Would you believe this? It was funny. Buffalo thing on Twitter that I follow was like that awkward moment when Fred Jackson has lasted longer than Marshawn Lynch. That's pretty nuts. Fred Jackson is
Lynch
still going.
finishes with
7,000 something yards.
2,100 attempts, 9,112 yards,
Wow.
4.2 average, 74 TDs, 79 longest touchdown, and 453 first downs. And only 19 fumbles.
That yardage total is higher than I would have thought it would be,
And he rushed for 1,000 yards 6 times.
Was there any with the Bills?
Yeah, 2.
Yeah.
07,
yeah,
08.
but his Bills years he also averaged like 3 point something yards per carry. Like,
Yeah.
And to be fair,
it was just because they were force feeding.
2010 he missed basically the whole season. He only played 4 games.
Yeah.
And then,
know.
like we said,
I
the
mean-
Super Bowl ring. But I don't think he never led the league in rushing.
Yeah.
Never had a rushing title.
I mean, he had the one Super Bowl, right? But again, I'll pull up an argument for Terrell Davis, the same deal, right? And he's got a league MVP and
Yeah.
a Super Bowl MVP, the third all-time total in league history for rushing yards in a season. 4 years as the best running back in the NFL. You can never really say Marshawn Lynch was the best running back in the NFL in any of the years during his career.
Yeah, he was always top 5.
Yeah, he always played with
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, right? They were drafted the same year. So you can't really say he was ever one of the best. Or not one of, sorry, the
And his
best.
most TDs in a season was 13.
Whereas with Calvin Johnson, you can say 4 years there, he was the best wide receiver in the NFL, right?
Just on a very, very crummy team.
Yeah.
19 fumbles, though, for his whole career. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, but he's a power back. A lot of power backs are like that. They don't have a lot of fumbles. The exception, of course, being Adrian Peterson.
Most
who
fumbles in a season was 4.
Most in one season for Marshawn.
Yeah,
4.
and he played every game that season.
Buffalo.
But again, look
No,
up
Seattle. It
look
was
up-
in 12.
But again, look up the guy I compare the most to him would be Jamal Lewis, right? Look up like Jamal Lewis. They don't fumble a lot. Power backs don't fumble a lot. When you're not running up the field all the time and having your arm come out loose from your body in that, you're not fumbling a lot, right? But,
I had a point, but
You'd be very surprised at Jamal Lewis. Guess how many fumbles he had for his career? They played about the exact same amount, actually.
does he have
35.
I was gonna say more than Lynch.
which is still a low number.
And only 10,600 yards, only about 1,500 more yards.
Is he in the Hall of Fame?
no, he won't.
No.
Either.
I was gonna say yeah.
Stop.
I was
Lynch-
gonna say that doesn't sound like a Hall of Famer, but
Jamal.
the NFL's a weird place.
Marshawn Lynch is definitely a better career running back than Lewis is, like numbers wise and everything. I'm just like that's
Yeah.
the guy who I would
Yeah,
compare,
you
the
compare
most
him to,
closely to.
absolutely.
I wanted to see the difference in fumbles. I thought he would have had less than 35, to be honest.
Fair point. Fair point.
35 is still a low number.
Oh, yeah,
for
that
a guy
is
that's played
very
that
low.
many games, right?
I wanna
You look
check
at Adrian
Bettis.
Peterson. Adrian Peterson has like 80. Like Adrian Peterson has like a quarterback level number of fumbles.
I was gonna say yeah, he fumbles quite a bit.
I can't wait to look at those final stats for DeMarco Murray fumbles.
Oh,
early in
Jeez.
his career, like it was way worse than it is now too. I think he had like 12 fumbles or something one year. Like it was bad.
who AP?
Yeah. But yeah, and again, you bring up Bettis too. I mean, Bettis is in the Hall of Fame with one. I don't think he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I still don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But Lynch is the if you're going to take a Hall of Fame guy to compare him to,
Okay, Bettis played 12 years, 13,662 yards, 38 fumbles, 91 TDs, and that's rushing. And then
but Bettis had a lot of years too where he did nothing. Like
throw
a lot,
another 3 TDs receiving.
Yeah, a lot of those numbers for Bettis came a little later in his career. Like his
Oh, yeah.
early years were nothing, whereas Lynch was good right off the bat.
Actually, no. Bettis, rookie year 93, 94. 1,400 yards in 93 and 1,094. And then Steelers from 96 to 2001, he had over 1,000 yards every year. That's crazy. See, I was with you. I didn't think that at all.
Yeah.
I think it's just before he was a Steeler, nobody really.
Yeah, he was on the Los Angeles Rams / St. Louis Rams.
I think nobody really before he was a Steeler really cared
At
about
all.
Jerome Bettis.
No.
No,
I mean, I
not
still
at
don't
all.
care about Jerome Bettis, but that's
The bus.
besides the point.
He was a lineman playing running back. I love that guy.
Us. Speaking of not even speaking of,
Oh, we're not going to speak.
I just want to bring this up quickly. I know I said I don't want to talk about him ever again.
Manziel?
Yep.
You're joking me, right?
How can you cover up somebody being drunk or hungover at a practice by saying the man has a concussion? Like, I'm disgusted. Like, when I read that report, I felt sick.
Were you drunk?
No, I'm somebody who's had a concussion before, and for them to be using that as an excuse.
Thought he was going to say I'm
pissed me
somebody
off.
who's had a hangover before.
Yeah, well, I was going to say I think that's everyone in this
All right,
room.
relax, Will Smith. Don't get all emotional on us with these concussions.
I'm going to go make a movie.
But no, they're covering it up because he's...
An idiot?
They didn't
Yeah.
want to play him. That's why they're...
That too.
At the end of
Yeah.
the day, they didn't play him because they didn't want to play him. It has nothing to do with the fact that he had the concussion and lied about
just
it. They didn't want
pissed
him
me
to
off,
play.
like-
Hey, man, like I said, he's an idiot. He should be cut from football for a year.
What do you think about, who was it, Ryan Leaf even reached out to him and was like, I see shades of myself in this guy.
That's an insult and a half.
Yeah, I know.
I would maybe
I would retire.
go back to the ball if I was Manziel and heard that.
I would retire right there and just be like, I see some of myself in you. Well,
And he's like, well, I'm done.
I'm done. No.
For real, though.
Now, just one thing I want to touch on with the Hall of Fame, and just because he deserves his just dues, he's not a guy I like to talk about. I never liked him much as a player, and a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that my dad was a huge fan of his, but Brett Favre. In the Hall of Fame now, we knew he was getting in first ballot.
Yeah.
He does deserve it, despite what you feel of him throughout
yeah.
the course of his career.
Numbers don't lie.
so
Records,
you're
records,
not
records.
a fan of Brett Favre, Jeff?
I don't like Brett Favre. I never
me
have.
neither.
I don't like the way he plays quarterback.
I'm not a big Brett Favre fan.
I think a lot of people that are fans of the game as opposed to just, watching it for entertainment or whatever, don't like the way Brett Favre played the game. Because we like watching quarterbacks that they know the game. They can dissect defenses. They can, maybe not the Peyton Manning 40 seconds at the line of scrimmage every time level, but like they're throwing accurate. Like watching Aaron Rodgers play is a thing of beauty because he'll make one or two passes a game that nobody else can make.
Yeah, Favre just
right?
pray and sprayed.
Favre just bombed it downfield, right? Like that's
Literally.
yeah.
Closed his eyes, just threw the ball. Hopefully somebody caught it.
Like there's a lot of casual fans that loved watching him play because he was exciting. You can't argue the fact that it was exciting to watch Brett Favre play.
I liked watching him play.
but it wasn't really football. It was catch.
Yeah.
Like
There was one thing I used to love that Brett Favre did a lot was off play actions, like where he wouldn't even have the ball for a good couple seconds and he would pretend to throw it, but it would be like 3 seconds after and the guys would still jump, like, and then they're looking around like, where'd the ball? And it's on the other side of the field. There was once he did a basketball shot, I'm pretty sure, where he handed it off and he just went like that, and the guy even jumped to block it, and he was like, "Oh, what happened?"
it's easy to have that killer pump fake when your hands are 8 feet long.
That's true.
But well, you can't argue the fact that he played the game like Cam, much like Cam Newton. He had fun playing the game, and
Yeah.
you could tell, and he did things out there that maybe weren't the smartest things, but looked like they were pretty fun
but
to
he
do.
was doing what he loved. Yeah, absolutely.
But that just quick mention of him, just because I don't want to talk about him again.
Yeah, and obviously I don't think we.
And now I don't
to
have to talk
him.
about him ever
Yeah,
again
because it's like,
he's-
hey, Hall
Now
of
that
Fame.
he's in the
That's
Hall
it.
of Fame,
Last
he's going
step.
to come out of
Finally over.
retirement.
Stop.
Oh God!
I'll stop
Just-
watching it.
He's gonna wait for Peyton to retire and then be like, "I'm back."
He's like, I need that
beating
win
that
record.
record.
He's like, I need my win record. And then it's just a battle of like them coming out of retirement, and they're just like, let's go.
Playing at 60.
He
It'd
wins,
be like
wins
there's
the
gonna be
Super
like
Bowl.
on ESPN like Rocky montages of them working out in like a shed.
It'll be like grudge match. You see with Kevin Hart and De Niro instead of being Manning
Did
and
you
Favre.
did you
Exactly.
see the picture of Favre at his fitting for his Hall of Fame jacket?
No, is he ripped?
Man,
Good shape.
Man, the guy looks like early career Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like it's,
I told you he's coming out of retirement, man.
and he's
Just
clear.
watch.
He's clearly on something too because he's standing there for his fitting with his arms straight down his side, veins bulging. I'm like, either this guy's taking venom or he's
No, before the picture, he's like, "Hey, y'all got weights?" They're like, "Why?" He's like, "They're just wondering." He's like, just lifting them, and he's like, "I gotta look good."
like, man. And that beard. How about that beard? He's
I love
got
it. That's the only thing I like about
pure
Brett Favre.
white. Like,
Yeah, it's like, have you seen Letterman?
yeah.
What?
This man looks like he moved into a cave since he retired.
Really?
full beard, hair's all long. He literally looks like a caveman.
He's like,
in a
I'm
suit.
not on TV.
You know those-
Yeah, he just doesn't care.
You know those
Good.
You know those old claymation Christmas movies that come on TV every year, and they've got the Santa Claus with the perfectly
Yeah.
round and
That's-
white
that's
beard.
Brett
That's
Favre.
Brett Favre's beard right now.
I thought that too. I was like, this. I feel like I've seen you somewhere. Like,
Yeah, like he looks like Santa.
I gotta say, though-
ripped out of his mind Santa.
I have to say is one of the things that I loved about the Super Bowl was having all the MVPs there. I thought was really cool.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to have all
Gimmick.
50.
Yeah, I could care less.
I don't know. It was a gimmick.
And
I
they didn't have
liked, in all
Malcolm Butler
honesty.
there.
Yeah, they
But
said
they
it
had
was Tom
Malcolm
Brady.
Smith there.
Yeah.
Like, stop.
It was pretty cool. Obviously, you had the nice.
I love Brady getting booed, though. I'll tell you, I
Awesome.
like that.
I was gonna say having Montana. come
Only
out,
person that
obviously.
got booed out of the whole people.
I have to
announced.
say, when Ray Lewis came out, I was hoping he did the dance. I know he was in a nice suit, but I was like, do it, and he didn't. He just walked. I was like, oh, come on. I was like, please.
All right, guys. So, for the last time this season, your favorite segment and mine, the 4th and Goal Doghouse.
You're up.
I don't really have one.
All right, then I'm up.
Oh boy,
So,
No, because-
like I mentioned, you're getting cut off. You said you didn't have one.
my doghouse is Proto for not having a doghouse.
No, because I like the game. We touched on everything. Game was kind of boring. Defensive battle. I don't
Put
like,
yourself
we
in the
already talked
doghouse
about
for being a
Cam
Bills
Newton.
fan, then.
I've already done that. I'm not going to double myself like Jonathan Cooper. Like, come on now.
All right, well, mine is this guy. I've mentioned it a couple times this season, slowly becoming my favorite player. And
Jonathan Cooper.
Oh, of course. And Cam Newton. And this past Sunday maybe didn't change my mind, but made me look at him in a little bit different way. And like I said, I'm not hating on the leaving the press conference early, none of that, because like I said, there's some positive things he did after that game that they just didn't include because I want to focus on the negative with him.
Yep.
But my whole thing is you got to jump on that fumble, man. You're in the biggest game of your life. Everything is on the line. You're down 6 with plenty of time to go, and you're not jumping on that fumble that you fumbled.
Yep.
Nonetheless, you fumbled the ball, not your running back, not a
Absolutely.
bad snap. You clear out fumbled that ball, and you're not going to jump on it. Worried about injuries in the biggest game of your life. I
Lay
don't
it
know,
all
man.
on the line, baby.
Out of
That's how you become a champion.
someone who I thought has so much heart, it was the most heartless thing I've seen him do.
No, I'm with you on that. Like, I
And
didn't like that.
I
moment.
think it's going to make him come back stronger, but I also think it has the potential to ruin him because that's what people are
and
going
that's
to
what I
bring
said.
up from now on.
I think this loss is actually going to be a benefit as much as obviously it's
I
gonna
hope
hurt
it is.
him. It's
I
gonna
hope
be a
it is.
benefit. Jeff?
Well, my 4th and Goal Doghouse this week. I'm gonna throw in Jonathan Cooper just because no. I
was going to say, really?
I should have brought it up a couple weeks ago when it happened, but I didn't, and I've waited a little bit, and it's kind of popped back up a little bit now, and it's the San Diego Chargers organization for what they have done to one of the best players in their franchise's history, in Eric Weddle. First, they kicked this whole thing off by fining the man for watching his daughter sing at a halftime show. Like, what were you going to say in the halftime room that was that important that he couldn't watch his daughter sing? Like, that is what kicked it off. Then they go ahead and throw him on IR, despite the fact that he came out and said he is not hurt, and they throw him on IR just because they don't want him to play in the game and they don't want the media around it or excuses around it, right? And it all kind of stems from the fact that they know he's going to want more money than they want to give him. But rather than handling it like professionals and like real human beings should, they're doing everything in their power to just ruin this guy's career. And it's insulting, and it's just a terrible way to handle things. And I'm very ashamed in the San Diego Chargers organization. And hopefully they move to LA and fire every member of that team in doing so.
They just re-signed North. 2-year deal. They went, what, 5-11?
The San Diego Chargers are perpetually...
Or 6-10?
They're perpetually, like, stuck in a state of just...
Crummy in the
Yeah.
middle of the pack.
Yeah, they're like...
It's like you can get there, but you also can't. Like, it's not happening.
Yeah, they're always right in the middle, and they can't seem to get out of there. They can't seem to get worse or better.
No, they just
Like,
always stay right there.
There's teams that like look at that and they're like, "Oh, we need to get a tiny bit worse so that we can get better later."
They don't do that.
Just
though.
there.
They're
And
just like, let's stay the same every year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and-
being 8-8, getting 15th pick every year does not help you usually.
Well, like
Yeah.
that's why I was hoping in a way that Philip Rivers was going to leave. When was it, last year? When the contract was up, and I was like,
Apparently
you
he
know,
was going to retire.
yeah, there was that too, and that pissed me off too. And I was like, oh,
Why?
man.
Why did that
You're
piss
not
you
a
off?
bit- You're
Because
not
I
a
want to see
Chargers
him.
fan?
I want to see him still play.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Like, I don't know. I don't mind.
How many
Philip Rivers.
Chargers games do you watch every year?
When they play the Bills,
Okay.
which is that
So
one
what do you
time.
mean you
one
want to
time
see him
every 2
play?
years. No, like Philip Rivers is not a bad quarterback. Is my point.
Oh, no,
Nobody's
not at all.
saying he is.
Yeah,
That's
no one
why.
is.
And for the sake of the NFL, I want good players to stay in the league. As kind of somebody who outlooks football, of course, I'm a Bills fan, but
For some reason.
I wanted to see him leave San Diego. Is my main point. I wanted to see him go to a new team and see how he would do.
So you wanted to
instead
see
of
him
being
win a
in the middle of
Super
the pack.
Bowl is what you're saying.
Exactly. I wouldn't mind that.
Fair enough.
I don't know if he's a good quarterback, but I don't know if he'll ever be the kind of quarterback that leads a team to a Super Bowl.
If he was on
He's gonna
Denver,
be with
he'd be
San
all right
Diego
right now.
all the time. Like,
I
no.
still don't even know because as much as we say that Peyton at the beginning of the year kind of cost his team games, Philip Rivers is the kind of guy that when he gets into that clutch, he does cost his team games. Like he's great through 3.5 quarters, and then it's like, oh look, we need to win this game. 3 pick sixes.
Yeah.
Like he just, I think if Philip Rivers was their quarterback, they might have lost that game. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Another thing I just want to say really quickly with the Doghouse, the overall Doghouse MVP for this year. And
Johnny Manziel.
a lot. Well, I just calculated.
Manziel and Cooper.
I calculated the people that we threw in the most and the people that ended up in there the most, and it's actually a tie for first.
Cooper?
And it's not Cooper, and it's not Manziel.
Proto.
Cooper got in a total of 3 times.
I'll be pretty upset if it's me.
Manziel got in a total of 2 times.
Eddie Lacy.
Number 1 was tied with 5 times each, and that was the Buffalo Bills
What?
and the New York Giants.
Oh, I put the Giants in at least 3 times.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact. Because I
Okay,
put them in after that
I'm
drubbing
trying to
or
think.
that huge high-scoring game to New Orleans. I put them in after they blew. That was their divisional win for the
Okay.
whole damn season.
Proto put the Bills in twice. You put them in once, and I put them in
I
once.
know Christian did when they
Twice.
hired Rob Ryan.
Yeah.
That's the time I put them in twice.
You did put them in twice.
Nice. I'm quite proud of myself actually. For
And,
doing
and,
Hey.
and multiple Bills players.
it. Who?
Um,
Mario Williams.
McCoy, Mario Williams.
Who put McCoy?
I think you did one time.
I can't remember the
Definitely
exact
put in
ones,
Mario
but-
Williams.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I put Mario.
Probably
Williams in
EJ Manuel.
Actually, if we were going to
Yeah, I did.
actually, if we were going to actually total it up, the leader, if I was to like to put them in the categories, the leader would be
Bills.
Proto's fantasy team.
True.
there. Oh yeah, it's always like Eddie Lacy.
Because
and then
every week
Buddy
he put
who
his
put up
fantasy
0.5
team back in.
points.
But,
We should put
that's-
yourself in for
that- well, yeah.
drafting that fantasy team.
No, that's why I said Eddie Lacy because I'm like, I bet you have mentioned Eddie Lacy's name like 1,000 times.
so we know Christian's for the entire year. His doghouse is going to be Manziel.
Oh yeah, hands down.
Proto?
Yeah, no, I would probably go Johnny as well.
No, yours is Buffalo, clearly.
But no, I thought I'd mentioned Manziel more than I would the Bills.
I've mentioned Manziel more than
Mentioned.
you.
No, but I've been with you on those.
Yeah, but you
We've all
haven't-
been together
That's
on
true.
it, though.
All right, so overall doghouse pick, Jonathan. No, I'm kidding. I
Jeff's
guess-
is clearly
I
Jonathan
guess it's
Cooper.
the Bills.
I've got 2, and they kind of tie.
No,
They're
it's
hand
Eddie
in hand
Lacy.
here.
Screw that.
It's
Eddie Lacy.
Jonathan Cooper and Justin Bethel.
fair.
Justin Bethel
Yeah.
is my playoff doghouse.
Yeah, fair.
Jonathan Cooper. For
Last
regular
4 weeks
season.
was Bethel. First 16 was
To be
Cooper.
fair, it probably would have been Cooper overall had he not been benched in the 8th week. Thank God that he got benched in the 8th week.
Oh.
I know.
The doghouse doors opened and it was like heaven's
When I
gates.
saw that he wasn't starting, I was like, yes,
They've been listening to the podcast.
finally.
Yeah, it was like
But-
after week 7, they found our podcast, they watched game clips, and they're like, "Wow, he is pretty bad."
No, Cooper watched them himself, but he was like, I am bad, guys. You should bench me.
He's like, "Guys, please, I can't take this abuse."
Christian, I know you were doing a thing where you were adding up our.
Yeah, so
Totals?
regular season, you were 110 and 92. I was 109 and 93. And you were 92 and 83.
So despite Proto, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Even still, we were all over 500.
Wait, sorry, what did I say there?
You said 101 and 92 for me, 109.
That's a lie. That's a lie. You were 109 and 80, or 110 and 82. I was 109 and 83.
Ooh.
You were 92 and 83.
83.
And you missed a week.
yeah.
And you had as many losses as us.
No,
And
because
also,
I would have got that week perfect.
I missed our vaulted special episode.
Oh yeah.
So those scores could maybe be a bit different, but I don't know. It was in the vault for a reason.
Yeah, that one is not being released to the public.
That's for personal use only. Yeah, sorry, we're making faces at each other. It's an inside joke.
It's an inside joke.
Very inside joke.
I think like most
Pierre knows about it.
Most podcasts we kind of have we have one for Off the Ropes where we could not release that.
Oh
episode.
yeah. I'm not gonna get into that one.
Yeah,
either.
that one.
But one thing I want to mention: our views have been steadily climbing, and we appreciate that. We've mentioned this before. We clearly see that you guys are watching or listening because, like I said, the views have been nicely climbing up. So, like we said before, comment, tell us what you like, what you don't like. I've seen a couple new comments more recently, but even if you comment on the older stuff, say what you didn't like, did like.
Yeah, even if it's stuff that you didn't like.
Yeah, like we're not worried about that.
No, because
we want to make the show better, right?
That helps
and
us grow, absolutely.
We're going to be back next season stronger than ever. What we're going to do, though, is have a regular sports show going forward so you can at least listen to something every Thursday.
Yeah.
Focus on, obviously, every sport, though, like NHL, NBA. If anything's going on, NFL, that's our main focus. But
Tiddlywinks.
Yeah.
Lacrosse.
Yeah, and if there's certain things
cricket,
from other sports that you guys want to hear,
Antarctic
let us know
ice
for
wrestling.
Sure.
Midgets racing elephants.
It's technically a sport.
It's technically a sport
but
somewhere.
we're not covering NASCAR.
There's a little bit of context, but no.
I am with
No
you
NASCAR. We are not
100%.
touching NASCAR.
Or Formula One, it's not happening.
They are not athletes.
I'm
I'm
not
sorry,
watching
guys.
a car go in circles.
But no, yeah, absolutely.
But yeah,
If
that was
there's
just my
certain-
2 cents. And
No,
we
you're right.
appreciate you guys listening, obviously,
Absolutely,
of
and
course.
I think for a first season, it's been
very
It's
solid.
been good. It's
The
been
last 10 episodes, very, very strong.
We
Yeah,
started
they
off
just
a
got
little
better and
slow.
better.
Started off a little
Yeah.
slow, but we got better. You guys obviously thought we got better because you're watching now, listening,
Watching some of them, listening to most.
watching.
yeah. Sorry
one.
about having.
Oh,
to
yeah,
see-
one.
Yeah.
That's the other
second
vault.
one didn't come out.
But yeah, we appreciate it. Again, like he said, comment. Don't forget, you can tweet us as well if you have anything for us individually.
Let's recap the Twitters.
Mine is at J_Blagden.
Mine's at csmith1333, or just type in Witty Smitty News. You'll find me.
Yeah, and mine is at Andrew Reese Radio.
Should be at Proto.
Yeah,
Very
but
true.
somebody owns it.
Somebody took it.
Really?
I found it the other day.
Jeff sent it to me and he said this guy owns it and he has like 13 followers and hasn't tweeted
Yeah.
in like forever.
Let's tweet him and get him to delete it, or
Yeah,
call Twitter.
so I could take it.
Yes. Email Twitter.
So I could just have it.
Yeah, you need it. It
Yeah, that
needs
would
to
be
yours.
clutch.
That would be
At
awesome.
Proto.
No, just at Proto. That's it.
Exactly. It'd be epic. Anyway, yeah, great show. Again, what he didn't mention, we are 900 viewers away from 20,000 for this show
yes.
On 4th and Goal, yep.
on 4th and Goal. So,
With
if
about,
you-
I think, 20 episodes, so that averages out to a nice 1,000.
solid number.
Yeah.
If you want to relay it to your friends, whether they're football fans or just fans of sexy voices, send them our way. Get them to listen. We have obviously other stuff you can check out on Break the Cast if you're not a huge fan of other sports aside from football too. So you guys can check that stuff out at your own leisure. But yeah, we'll get back to you with the sports show. Probably start it up maybe next week.
Next week.
Next
yeah.
Thursday or the one after, so we can game plan what we're
Yeah.
going to do,
Yeah,
get the
absolutely.
segments down and everything, because I don't want to just come on and,
Wing it.
so
You know,
here's
sports,
NHL, now we're on NBA. It'll just
come
be
on.
really
Of course,
confusing.
just come on and wing it. Yeah, so we're going to do that, and we'll obviously let you guys know more about that through both our Facebook page and our Twitters.
Oh, yeah, like the Facebook page, Break the Cast.
Yeah.
Yep.
Easy to find. Just Break the Cast.
Yeah, and that also has all our podcasts on there. Like
Yep.
whenever there's something new going on with any of them.
And any information you need from us, you'll find it there too.
Oh, also, if you want to hear us on air, igniteradio.ca every Tuesday, 3 to 4 p.m.
Yeah. Sometimes we won't be
Sometimes we won't be on air, but support our team.
But it's our show. On top of that, me and Proto here are also starting in 2 weeks. We'll have a show 6 to 8 on Mondays on the same igniteradio.ca. So give that a listen as well. Other than that, guys, it's been a great year. It's been fun to do this.
Yeah.
And we can't wait to be back at you next year in even better format. But until next year, when it comes to the 4th and Goal podcast, always go for it.
thank you for listening to Break the Cast.